Good morning, everyone. Thank you for warming up this day. Thank you for being here. Thank you for celebrating a journey marked by hope and dual connection. Migration is such an openness of a cultural exchange. Special guests, I am pleased to introduce the Australian National Maritime Museum's Manager of Indigenous Program, Matt Paul, who will give the acknowledgement to country.
Thank you. Mari Bajari. Good morning in the Darug language of the Eora region in Sydney here. It is always an honour to be asked on behalf of the Australian National Maritime Museum to acknowledge that we are gathered here in this beautiful Gadigal country. Gadigal just being one of 27 greater clan groups across the Greater Sydney region who've called this place home for tens of thousands of years. The Aboriginal people of Australia were themselves have a story of one of the most incredible intergenerational migrations of people in the human story. These first navigators from across the narrow seas arrived with deep knowledges of navigating unknown places and travelling vast distances from their homes and families. But this is also the ancestral story of all of humanity's migration journeys to all corners of the world, and it's a shared story amongst all of us here today. And this is why an acknowledgement of country is just such a simple and beautiful gesture. All it is asking is that everyone take a moment to reflect on the deeper history of the place where we stand right now, and where we all live, where we work and build our homes, and share our lives with our families and friends. So as we reflect on the nature of migration, let us take a moment to think of those who travelled here before us and all those who will follow our paths in the future. On behalf of the Australian National Maritime Museum, it's an honour to acknowledge that we are gathered here on Aboriginal land. Thank you.
Thank you, Matt. I too acknowledge that we are standing today on country that is traditionally owned by the Gadigal people of the Eora nation, and that our ceremony takes place on their lands and waters. I pay my respect to traditional owners and elders, past and present, and to all Aboriginal or Torres Strait Islander peoples present. Allow me to acknowledge the nation's first peoples in my mother tongue in Arabic. أود أن أعترف بالملاك التقليديين للأرض التي أقف عليها اليوم. أقدم احترامي لشعب الجاديغو من أمة إيورا ولكبارهم في الماضي والحاضر. أقر أيضا بأصحاب الأرض التقليديين من الأبوريجينيين وسكان جزر مضيق توريس. Hello or marhaba in my mother tongue. My name is Petra Taug. I am a human interest journalist and presenter of SBS Arabic, hosting the Good Morning Australia show in my mother tongue. Australia's multicultural, multilingual, and First Nations broadcaster has been my home, delivering content in over 60 languages, and I proudly carry my Lebanese heritage. My father migrated to Australia from the enchanting city of Beirut at the age of 22, and the story of home away from home started for me. Today, we are adding 431 inscriptions to the National Monument to Migration of people who represent 59 countries. It is my deepest pleasure to be with you as your MC for today's ceremony. I would like to welcome every one of you as donors and supporters of Australia's National Maritime Museum on this very special day to unveil panels on Australia's National Monument to Migration. Firstly, there are several distinguished guests among us who I wish to acknowledge. Representatives from the following consulates: China, Italy, Pakistan, and the Republic of Poland in Sydney. Representatives from our media partner, SBS, including the chair, acting managing director as well. Representatives from our partner, SSI, counselors of the museum, and directors of the foundation board, donors, sponsors, and supporters of the museum, and other distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. Today, here at the heart of the museum, we celebrate the contributions migrants have made to this country. We hope that today can remind each one of us of the great good fortune we share being here together as a collective of cultures and communities, united in a celebration both of journeying and of coming home. This morning, we are adding 431 inscriptions to the National Monument to Migration of people who represent 59 countries. Also, a big shout out to all the mothers here among us, for tomorrow is Mother's Day, and a mother is the very first homeland. A big applause for our mothers. And I'm so happy that my son is with me. Thank you, Carlo, for being with me. The top 10 communities in order of representation in today's ceremony are Italy, United Kingdom, Greece, Germany, Malaysia, Poland, Malta, Egypt, Finland, Cyprus, and Spain. A big applause. This is just a reflection of the changing and enriching diversity in Australia. Please raise your hand if you are a proud migrant, or a child of a migrant, or a grandchild of a migrant. Keep your hand up if your name is being added to the monument today. Congratulations! Today is all about you. We are celebrating your contribution to Australia. Today, your names join more than 36,000 inscriptions on the National Monument. You're all in esteemed company, and your contribution is helping to recognize our proud, diverse national story. Before we go, some quick housekeeping. Not everyone could make it today, so the event is being recorded. It would be posted on the museum's website. We will also send you a link to the recording for you to share with loved ones here and back home. We would also love you to share your experience, your moments of the day. If you are posting videos, photos, please use the hashtag #SeeMuseum and tag us at @SeeMuseum. For the bathrooms, please note there are toilets just behind me on the first floor of 4th-7. We do have photographers with us filming and capturing the moment. Please, if you prefer not to be photographed, please let them know. In a moment, we will hear your story. We will hear from you. We will hear some of the families whose names are being celebrated and added to the monument. But first, I would like to warmly introduce the museum's director and CEO, Ms. Daryl Karp, AP. The floor is yours, Daryl.
Thank you, Petra. Thank you, Matt. It's a pleasure to have all of you here. It's hard to respond meaningfully to such a moving acknowledgement to country. So I would just like to welcome you to the Bamal and the Badu, the earth and the waters of Gadigal, where we are meeting today. We're privileged to honour and continue the millennia of storytelling that has occurred here on this land that was once known as Pirima. Welcome to the National Let me start that again. Welcome to the Australian National Maritime Museum. In a city full of museums and galleries, we're the only national collecting institution in Sydney and the only one with a focus on migration. So it's fitting that we're here near to where so many migrants first disembarked after a long voyage to their new home. It's an honour to be here to acknowledge all the families whose name appear on the Welcome Wall, Australia's national monument to migration. The 431 inscriptions of individuals and families acknowledge today the specific, difficult journeys, that of leaving the familiar to begin again, creating a new story in a new country. Migration is an ongoing migration and its ongoing role in our multicultural nation is one of the key pillars of the museum's activity. The National Monument marks a long history of migrants who have shaped contemporary Australia. This is at the heart of what we do, creating a place where every visitor, regardless of age or background, feels empowered to share their story and be part of Australia's future. The stories of migrants speak to individual themes such as belonging, love, adventure, family, safety. Some stories are marked by adversity, loss, and sadness. Some are less dramatic, but all are stories of hope. Hope for a better life for our children, hope for a better employment, hope for better education, or simply hope for safety and security. And it's this journey of hope that binds all migrants together, regardless of where they've come from. Like so many Australians, my family has its own migration stories. On my mother's side, from Lithuania and Germany to South Africa, and then more recently to Australia. And I vividly recall the wooden trunk at the back of my grandmother's wardrobe filled with German Reichsmarks, a reminder of the hyperinflation and that all of those notes would not buy a loaf of bread. The trunk told a very deep story that many preferred to keep locked away. The exposure to different sets of norms and practices gives all of us a dual lens, a lens that provides opportunities to compare, to see possibilities others might overlook, to challenge assumptions, and to bring fresh ideas to the table. Our ability to bridge cultures, adapt quickly, and think globally makes us catalysts for growth. So by placing your family and your family's name on the National Monument, you have made a donation to the museum, which will help us to continue to develop storytelling and support our commitment to honour, collect, and hold your migration stories, which collectively are part of our national story. Thank you again for your donation. Everyone on the monument is an important part of the museum family, and we consider you to be our champions. I hope you'll think of the museum as your other home and visit us regularly. There are many organisations that help us to do what we do, and Petra has acknowledged them specifically, but I would like to acknowledge the embassies, the consulates, the community groups, the media organisations who all assist us in spreading this very significant and important word. And I'd particularly like to thank SBS for their leadership, passion and commitment to inclusion and diversity in Australia and their ongoing support for the work that we do. And I'd like to welcome Dr. Nicholas Pappas, AM Chair of SBS, and Acting Managing Director Jane Palfreman, who are with us here today, and our council members, Kevin Fuster and Leo McClay, and of course, a huge thanks to our wonderful and very passionate staff. But mostly I want to thank all of you for adding your names and your stories to the rich tapestry that makes up contemporary Australia. Thank you.
Thank you, Daryl. If you can kindly please stand and join me in welcoming Olivia Fox, a Wiradjuri woman who will sing the national anthem in both English and the language of the Eora Nation. Olivia, the floor is yours.
Australia, Barabago, Yirabana, Australia, Gal, Garabrana, Yaria, Bun, Yirabana, Australia, Gal. Australians, oh, let us rejoice, for we are one and free. We've golden soil and wealth for toil. Our home is good by sea. Our land abounds in nature's gifts of beauty, rich and rare. In history's page, let every stage advance Australia fair. In joyful strains, then let us sing, advance Australia fair.
Thank you, Olivia. Let's get ready to hear some heartwarming stories. It is now my pleasure to introduce the first speaker, Nisa Alam, a librarian at Western Sydney who will share her parents' migration story that started in Pakistan, beginning in Hunza in the northern areas of Pakistan and tracing their journey to Australia, which started with a chance conversation at Islamabad Airport in 1977. Nisa, the floor is yours.
Good morning. My name is Nissa, Shamsa Nissa Alam, and I'm a librarian based in Western Sydney. I am here to honour my parents, Nick and Shamshad Alam. My mother, Shamshad, was born 65 years ago in the valley of Hunza in the northern areas of Pakistan. Her mother's name was Shadi Bano, and her father's name is Amanullah Khan. My mother is from the Hamatkus branch of the Diramting tribe. My father, Nick Alam, was born 78 years ago in Baltit, the capital of Hunza. His mother's name was Ashraf, while his father's name was Afiat Khan. My father is from the Gutkus branch of the Diramting tribe, one of the 3 ancient tribes of Hunza. My parents' journey from Pakistan to Australia is rooted in that classic Australian trick of turning up as a tourist absolutely anywhere in the world, however remote. And that is where our story begins around 1977, when my dad was working for PIA, Pakistan International Airlines. So the story goes that one day at Islamabad Airport, my dad struck up a conversation with an intrepid traveller from Australia, a teacher from Sydney called Bill Bogue. Now, Bill had heard of the beautiful valley of Hunza, and since Dad was from there, they had quite a bit to talk about. On arriving at their next destination, however, they discovered that Bill couldn't travel on. The road that connected Gilgit to Hunza was the famous Karakoram Highway, the highest paved road in the world. And having just been built, foreigners were not yet allowed to travel over it. So using what influence he had, my dad did try to secure permission. However, he was unsuccessful, and Bill, somewhat disappointed, went on to explore other locations in the country. My dad and Bill did keep up a conversation, a correspondence though, and in August 1978, Dad took a free flight to Singapore and then travelled on to Sydney. It was pretty cold, and Dad only had one sweater, and had only realised halfway through his journey that it'd be winter on this side of the world. From Sydney, he made his way to Wingelow in the Southern Highlands, where he had been promised some employment with Bill's brother John. Dad was grateful, but it soon became clear to all parties that he wasn't quite suited to farm work. So what ensued was some months going back and forth between Sydney and the country until Dad finally settled in Sydney. Now, Dad's adventures came with a dose of luck because the White Australia policy had just been dismantled some years before, and the government of the day extended their welcome to migrants by declaring an amnesty for those like my dad who had perhaps misremembered that tourist visas came with an expiry date. So Dad was able to get his permanent residency, visit his home country, and bring back Mum in 1982. Now, my mum, who went on to have 5 children, hadn't yet turned 22 when she first arrived in Australia. She had never lived in a city, and she was very homesick at first. But she began to slowly learn English as her children were born, and she took them to playgroup, to the shops, to the local library, piling all of us into a stroller as she walked around Ashfield. Now, my mum's children are now grown, her grandchildren are in school, and for the last decade or so, she's been working in childcare, not quite ready to retire, just enjoying doing her own thing, including keeping Bunnings in business with all the gardening and DIY supplies she gets. So my parents became Australian citizens 42 years ago. They retain a deep love of their ancestral home, the place they grew up, a place where their parents and other family members rest forever, a place they still regularly visit. My dad's actually visiting there right now. But in Australia, they found prosperity. They had their children, they had their grandchildren, they found not just employment to fulfill the need for survival, but opportunities to enjoy life, to discover themselves, to indulge in hobbies, to be able to help others, and to live in such a culturally rich and diverse society. One hears a lot about the attributes that make up an Australian identity, and then debates about who supposedly fits in or not. I think it is the other way around. We, who are here, are Australia. We, with our unique histories and perspectives. My parents are not just Australian, they are Australia. And this is why it is so important that they, and so many of you, are recognised on the National Monument to Migration. Thank you.
Thank you, Nessa. Thank you for a dose of love and a reminder that we are not Australian, we are Australia. Thank you. Please welcome now our next speaker, Simon Chan AM. Simon is the chair of Multicultural New South Wales, a director of the foundation board of the Australian National Maritime Museum. He is as well the director and founder of the Art Atrium, an art gallery exhibiting contemporary Australian, Asian and Aboriginal art. He is as well the chair of the Vis Asia Committee at the Art Gallery of New South Wales, board director of Sydney Festival and interim chair of the Australian Multicultural Council. Simon Chan, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Petra. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, I also like to acknowledge the traditional owners of the land, the Gadigal people of the Eora Nation, and pay respect to the elders, past, present, and emerging. Welcome to everyone who have their names inscribed on the Welcome Wall, the National Monument to Migration. Today is a significant and exciting day because we are celebrating your story as a migrant to Australia. Today is the day when we welcome you to be part of the National Monument to Migration. I always consider Australia to be the best multicultural country in the world. I myself came to Australia as a high school student from Hong Kong in 1970. My father was actually born in Papua New Guinea, when my great-grandparents migrated there from China to start a new life. My father went to Hong Kong University to study engineering and became a professor in Zhejiang University in China. My parents settled in Hong Kong after the Second World War, and that's where I was born. I became an Australian citizen in 1973. My parents actually settled in Hong Kong after the Second World War and migrated to Australia in 1971. So I became an Australian citizen in 1973 while I was studying architecture at University of Sydney. In the same year, when the Whitlam Labor government officially renounced the White Australia policy and established a policy of multiculturalism. It is wonderful to see over the years such diverse communities from different countries and different cultural backgrounds all calling Australia home. It is wonderful to see children growing up and being able to speak more than one language. And it is also wonderful to see migrant families feel a sense of belonging and starting a new life in Australia. I have my name inscribed on the welcome wall, and the museum has just launched the initiative of registering names for a dedicated panel for migrants of Chinese heritage. I will be helping the museum to reach out to the Chinese Australian community to be part of the National Monument to Migration next year. Australia and the world is going through a very difficult phase at the moment. We are going through a very challenging period in terms of social cohesion in this country affected by conflicts overseas. It is time when we need to think of ourselves as part of our Australian family. We need to think about our shared values as Australians. We need to work together to maintain social cohesion. We need to continue to keep Australia as the best multicultural country in the world. So we are here today to welcome you on our journey together to share our common values and to celebrate our diversity so that we can all continue to contribute to a unified, cohesive, and inclusive Australia. Thank you.
Thank you, Simon. What a reminder that in a world of division, Australia witnesses to multiculturalism. And together today we're witnessing that interculturalism elevates multiculturalism, where we're open to hear each other, we're open to be enriched by each other's stories. Allora, and now I would like to introduce our final speaker, Silvia Coloca, with whom food and music intertwine. Italian-Australian passionate writer and author of 6 cookbooks, a celebrated opera singer, actress, and a TV producer, a popular host of Silvia's Italian Masterclass on SBS. Immigration started from Italy to Australia, specifically in 2009. Silvia, a proud mother, is having her name today inscribed on the welcome wall today, and we are delighted to have her share her story with us, where even food with her has an Italian accent. Dal profondo del mio cuore, benvenuta. The floor is yours, Silvia.
Grazie mille. Thank you, Petra, for bringing your sensitivity and your endless charm to this ceremony. I cannot tell you how honored I am to have my name included on the welcome wall. It feels both deeply personal, but also part of something much, much bigger than me. And I want to acknowledge the privilege that it is for us migrants to raise our families and live our lives and build our future on Aboriginal land. This always was and always will be Aboriginal land. And I also want to acknowledge those who came before me, particularly the Italian migrants who helped shape this country. But let us not forget our fairly recent history. There was a time not too long ago when, before people learned to do this and knew how to say bruschetta properly, there was a time when being Italian wasn't exactly cool, and we were looked upon with suspicion. The food smelled weird, the accents were mocked, and the customs misunderstood. But those Italians didn't take no for an answer, and they rolled up their sleeves and they kept on working, and they built families, communities, thriving businesses. And in the process, they performed a small miracle. They made Australians fall in love with all those things that made us different. The food, the chaos, the language, the heart, the generosity. And in doing that, they paved the way for people like me. My history of migration is fairly recent. I only became an Australian citizen in 2012, and by then the road was there. Being Italian wasn't something I had to explain, it was celebrated. But let me be very clear, there is no version of living your home that doesn't come with loss. You live behind your family, your friends, your language, your sense of self. You live behind a version of you that only exists in that place. And no matter how strong you are or how lucky your circumstances are, there is no fast track to that kind of homesickness. And if there was, Italians would have invented it and sold it next to the pizza sauce. What we learn is that over time, something shifts. And Australia has now become my home, not instead of Italy, but alongside it. And my husband and I are raising our 3 children to be fully Australian, but also deeply, deeply Italian. And they move between cultures with an ease that still amazes us. And they are living proof that the heart does not divide. It makes room for more, for much, much more. The wall is made of names, but behind every single name, there's a leap of faith. There's a goodbye, there's a new beginning, and there's a willingness to learn and to grow, because growth is what migration is. And migration is also about keeping your heart fully open, even if it's draped with various flags, and even if it beats to the sound of multiple languages. Thank you.
We hug. Lebanese and Italians hug. Grazie. Thank you, Silvia. The heart doesn't divide. It makes room for more, even more. What a beautiful testimony. Thank you, Silvia. Ladies and gentlemen, we will shortly invite drum beats back again to continue performing in just a moment. But before we end the formal proceeding, please join me in thanking all of our speakers, all of our performers, everyone that shared a part of his or her story with us today. A big applause. Ends are always an endless beginning, and as our ceremony reaches its final curtain, we trust you can take some time to enjoy your day here. Now that we have unveiled the new panels just over there at the back, please go and view your name, celebrate your story, anytime you like throughout the day. There are a lot of people here, so please let's be kind to each other at the same time. Please visit the museum while you're here. Don't forget you have a free entry to the main museum galleries and the Ultimate Depth exhibition for registrants and their guests today. We've lots of things to see here at the museum, and it's open till 4 p.m. Kindly ask our staff for more details. If you're interested in adding a name of your loved ones to the National Monument to Migration, please see the museum team located at the information desk near the monument at the back, near the coffee cart, and they will generously provide any information needed. Thank you. Shukran. Once again, for attending this day. Thank you for being Australia. Thank you for helping us celebrate the many lives and contributions of those honored on the monument today, and helping us all create this wonderful occasion. We are not Australians, we are Australia. Thank you, Nessa. Congratulations to all.